It is. There it is. There it go. We back in here one more time for the Down2Spirit podcast or conversation. We keep saying podcast, but it's mainly a conversation too. As of now, brothers having just a conversation like we would have typically amongst ourselves on the phone somewhere. But you tuned in with the Down2Spirit uh, conversation today with the one and only mental coach Kev right here, and then the one and only SoundOff the General, who just saluted you right there. A proper salute for a general. But yeah, today's topic that we discussing is spirituality and relationships, like dealing with others in spirituality. So as we know, a lot of people have their different takes and views on they different denominations of religion or they different ideas about spirituality. So people got a lot of different things going on. It's like how do we, coincide with our different, levels of belief, I'm saying different types of belief. How does that work and how does that look? Sound after general, you want to take us off with some of your experience in that?
I was gonna say before we do that, man, how you doing today?
Man, thank you, brother. Man, I'm doing great. I'm trying a different approach in life now where I'm allowing whatever feels the most exciting or pleasing to lead me, and it's supposed to, spiritually, they say it's supposed to lead you into, the path of, the things that you want in the most best way, or the best path, which, in life, which should be your passion. Because if you're following what you're excited about, then typically, hopefully, it should be in the passion space of things that you actually care about more. And they say when you my mom always said, like, if you do something you love for a living and you want to work a day in your life, so to speak. Hey, which some of those days that I worked in the studio, for instance, wasn't really like work, but then some of them, man, some of them days it got to start being like work, and that's when
Yeah,
I was like, oh, wait a minute, and started trying to follow whatever else was more exciting, which ended up being the therapy, audio space, kind of, in a corner of a room like I'm doing now and being able to help people over, kind of more from a distance, so to speak. Yeah, but yeah, long answer to that. But yeah, hey, everything going good my way, man. Mental space is good. I did my meditation today, man. I'm chilling. How about yourself? How you feeling?
I'm doing all right, doing pretty well, man. Just just end of a long work week, you know what I mean? And sometimes it take a little bit out of you, you know what I mean, especially in the line of work that I do. When you're dealing with people and their situations and their I don't want to go too deep into it, but their situations, their trauma, their drama, things of that nature. And so sometimes that can be a little challenging, you know what I mean, to watch people go through things. Camera just went off.
Yeah, you say it can be challenging to watch people
Yeah,
go through
it
things.
could be yeah, it could be challenging watching people going through things, but sometimes you have to learn how to self-care. That's what they taught us in the social work program. Take care of yourself first, as you would say, put the mask on first before you
Yep.
try to help someone else. And sometimes you have to compartmentalize and, be okay knowing that, from a spiritual aspect, you know what I'm saying? Source, God got them.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, um, other than that, man, I'm pretty good. Just a little tired, man. But other than that, I'm good. But I
Man.
am interested to talk about this topic here because spirituality and relationships, because I feel like, you know, we're always interacting with other people. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? And so it's always a difference of belief, difference of opinion, difference of views on how you see things. And it's just
Yep.
interesting. You know what I mean? Like, I remember when I was Christian, there would be people that would come to me and be like, man, you believe that? And man, you should believe this or you should believe that. And it's kind of
Hmm.
like, I finally got to a place now where I don't have a problem talking about my spirituality, but it's like, it's really not anyone's business, you know what I'm saying, per se, what my beliefs or preference is on that regard, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like because people want you to think the way they think and do things the way they do. And if they, you know what I mean, I've had some people that, 1 minute they Christian today, next minute They
Something
Muslim,
else.
then they something else. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
it's just kind of like, I think it's helpful to find boundaries.
That's for
You
something.
know what I'm saying? What you think about that?
Man, I was gonna ask you about the you said it's personal, like your I guess your own spirituality path is kind of, I guess, personal to the individual. Then you mentioned something of that sort.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you kind of unpack that more for me?
Well, I mean, like, so, you know, in Christian belief, everybody has to see Jesus. You know what I mean? Christian
Mhm.
methodology. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But if that is true, the only person that has to give an account for that is that individual.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't make you no difference whether I believe in whatever I believe in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the interesting thing because people, you know, I, man,
Some people take it upon themselves to feel like, I guess, which I understand.
obligated.
Yeah, exactly. With some people, religion, they feel like, okay, man, if I don't help a person get this message to, come, to, Jesus or be saved or whatever it might be, they feel like they didn't did a disservice. And I've seen some people that actually take numbers, you know what I'm saying, like almost like notches on the belt of like, okay, this is the amount of people that I had, help come to Jesus or whatever, or
Right. I've heard that too.
so yeah, some people they feel like it's their personal obligation, and I guess it's some sort of stuff in the scripture that mentions something to that regard, possibly. I feel like I remember Pastor mentioning something of that sort, but um, who knows? But hey, in my particular case, man, I know things can get different with whether it's let's just say spouses, different partners having
Right.
different
Right.
religious backgrounds or ideas on spirituality, as well as let's just say parents versus kids,
Right. And yep. Yep.
friends.
Siblings.
You know
Yep.
what I mean?
Friends.
Co-workers, I'm seeing a lot of issues because there's people that's fighting over religion, which is crazy. Wars and all of that over religion. It's like, but I see the commonality as we mentioned before when we mentioned like the main message of Jesus when we had that particular podcast or conversation episode. We mentioned that the core idea is basically love is what we came up with. It's personal.
Right.
So I see a number of different religions that kind of lead in the space of love. It's like, okay, if you move in the area of love, in reference to yourself, you're gonna take care of yourself. You're gonna do certain things. There's certain things you ain't gonna do to yourself, and certain things you're gonna do to yourself that resembles love, as well as your partners, your friends, whoever you might be
Yep.
in a relationship with, kids, etc. So I'm seeing love being the core thing of it, but then I'm seeing all of this discord and people kind of repelling each other, getting into it with each other because of their different beliefs, right? So it's like,
Right.
okay, with love, we will respect the other person's belief. With love, we will see a person going to get some food at the buffet, even though it's something we don't like. We ain't gonna try to ruin their experience.
Right.
Like, oh, you eat
Right.
that mess. Oh, it's like, man, you mean to tell me you eat that, man? You know that's a scavenger. Da, da. Man, you eat this doggone crap, man. You putting that in your body, man. Oh, I shouldn't even be sitting over here with you while you get that on your plate. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
with love, it would be the opposite of that. Okay, oh, okay, you enjoy that, and you might not even have to mention the idea that you don't like it yourself.
Yeah.
It's
Or
like,
ask, why? Why do you like so and
yeah,
so? You know what I mean?
see,
Like it was it's so my family, you know what I mean, they knew me for being a minister for so many years, been brought up in the Christian faith. You know
mm-hmm,
what I mean? For me to say that I'm not a believer, was a culture shock. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It kind of took them aback, you know what I mean? And eventually my mother asked why, but for the longest she ain't even want to know. You know what I mean? And it just kind of like a situation of like, I can't believe you don't believe. I can't believe,
mm-hmm,
and and I get it from their perspective. They're worried about their brother or their son
mm-hmm,
going to going to hell. You know what I'm
uh-huh,
saying? Eternal damnation. But it's like once you can hear my thoughts and hear why, you know what I'm saying, it could make sense. And now it's gotten to the place where, you know what I mean, like they may not agree with it, they may not like it,
mm-hmm,
but they respect it. And I feel like there's a lesson in that. Is like there should be some level of us being tolerable of other people's decision to
and
live their
beliefs.
life the way they in their beliefs and the way
Mm-hmm,
they live their life. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because we're we're so many billion people on this planet. We're not all going to think the same. We're not all going to agree the same. We're not all going to, you know what I'm saying, share the same ideas and views. And at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying, respect is just my path is different. I
Exactly.
remember one time we was having a conversation, you and I, and we were just talking about, sometimes depending on how you see it or where you're from spiritually, where you're at, it kind of allows you to know how to maneuver with a person.
Hmm.
And allows you to be able to talk to an individual in such manner. You know what I mean? Because it's
Exactly.
like, because I know, okay, my brother, my mother, my
Yeah.
aunt, my uncle, you know what I mean? The list goes on, dad,
Yep.
they're Christian. Okay, I need to say, instead of saying source or spirit or universe, I need to say God.
There it is. Because it was a situation with somebody that I know, and they was mentioning something to one of their family members, having a conversation, and then once they got into that universe stuff and all of that, the other person who was actually Christian started kind of getting, annoyed and
Got
bothered by,
offended.
it, you know what I mean? But then when
Yeah,
I had a conversation with that same person, I knew how to approach it. So I would, I would say, God or this or that, in reference to things, which in my case, I feel like, it's God and God created the universe and the universe could be God. God is a collective. I mean, whatever it is, I'm not
yeah, because we don't
God. It's
know.
still, at the end of the day, we can sit and speculate and then look at a document or some words in a book or whatever, or religious context, which is supposed to be divinely inspired, but still, when you get something that's going to be expressed through an individual, it's going to be tainted in some sort of way, right? And that's why
Right,
they say, according to, let's just say, Christianity, we taint it once we kind of come out the womb, so to speak, huh? And could be even before that, because as we inside of the womb, we hearing things, we getting the emotions of the parent, you know what I mean? That's why some people have trauma that goes all the way back to the womb, because let's just say dad is beating up mom while mom got you in her stomach, you know what I mean? How is that gonna make the actual let's just say fetus feel or kid feel in there? So um we come into this world and we immediately start getting influenced, and that's when we start getting tainted, because we leave our, let's just say, spiritual, more freer, cleaner self, and then we come into this polluted body, so to speak, where we got to deal with emotions, we got to deal with pain, we got to deal with, okay, embarrassment or jealousy or whatever the things is. But in my particular case, man, in reference to family members, man, it kind of it became to be an interesting space, because initially I was studying, Christianity earlier on, and I mentioned this before. My dad even thought that I might be a minister or a preacher or something, because he would come to my room and it's like, as he would come in there random times, just happened to catch me in there with the Bible open reading, and I'm up there, I'm checking out stuff in the Bible, like, man, one of the things that stood out to me was Job, but we ain't got to go on there. I just felt like it was unfortunate all dude had to go through. But anyway, Pops thought I was gonna be a pastor, in the Christian space. But then as I started
right.
moving through life, learning things about therapy, seeing different people's experiences, hearing about things like, near death experiences and all type of different stuff, and reading different, getting ideas of different people who have different religious backgrounds. It might be a sheik or Sikh that I'm talking to this particular time, asking them, okay, what do you practice? You practice, is it Hinduism? Okay, what is the core ideas of your, what I'm saying, religion? And seeing a lot of good things that people mention as their core beliefs. So because of that, he caused me to have this more holistic love, spirituality type of idea of what, if you were to call it, it ain't religion, so to speak. Because when I look at religion, I look at it as being something that might be a person that's contained within. This is how some people say it. Okay, religion is a person that's in a fish that's in the fish bowl, but then, being spiritual and then understanding God it is more higher level, would be a person, a fish that's actually in the ocean or something like that, a more freer experience. Now, this is just what some people believe. I know some people might listen to that and be, thinking it's the opposite way around and get offended by it. But if you are getting offended by it, then is that something to kind of that you might need to check yourself about, or figure out within yourself? Because if we should be moving around here in each one of our ideas of religion, or whatever our spiritual belief is, typically the core of it is the concept of love. And love is actually, like you said, learning to understand the other individual's differences, right? Love is not bashing somebody else for having another idea, excuse me, or their personal take on things, because at the end of the day, is they soul, but people be feeling like they so responsible for other people's souls. I know in the word it mentions something about, your kids, you're responsible for certain things. So maybe that's part of it. But a lot of people be, people that's outside of their household, just have so much worry and problems
Mm.
with what they believe. You believe that mess or you something. Oh, I can't be close to you. So you mean to tell me that so what about the people that might be in a different religion or have a different idea of spirituality, but then could be around you and see how you move in a more loving way and then try to adopt your belief system, your religious belief system, or go down the path of whatever your religion is. You prevent that from happening when you start just repelling and pushing people away because they feel different or think different. And that's the core of what happens in I see in a lot of let's just say racial situations. The this person doesn't understand the other person that has a different color idea, frame of mind, or environment, or don't know much about them. So because of that, I don't want to be close to them. I don't want them to be close to me. I don't like them. I don't care to like them. Blah blah blah. You stay over there. I don't even want to see you in my neighborhood or whatever the case may be. And some people getting into that space, man, with religion, man. And I'm seeing certain religions like one of my parents is Baptist, so to speak, and then we'll call it Southern Baptist, I guess, and then another parent is Jehovah Witness. So that's an interesting combination to me because me just being the kid, I'm able to see both of the differences. And me, I'm the one asking questions like, okay, what's your concept on heaven and hell? Then Jehovah Witness wise, they be like, okay, well, it's gonna be a new earth that's gonna be built, and it's gonna be, all these beautiful colors and wonderful fruit, vegetables, or different things to eat, you know what I'm saying, and no ailments in your body, blah blah blah. But only certain people gonna make it here. A lot of people ain't going, unless you down with us, so to speak, you ain't gonna be here in this new earth. Or the 140 something thousand is supposed to be the ones that transcend to I guess being heaven, so to speak you know. Now I remember seeing that same kind of numbers supposedly just in the Bible period when I was studying Christianity. But anyway, I would be the guy that be as I be studying. I studied with the Jehovah Witnesses before they came to my house one time, and hey, I'm like, let me entertain the idea of it because you never know. The thing about learning is you can't learn and grow if you just stay in your same frame of mind and you don't allow new frames or ideas or possibilities to come in and be able to question and see if it synchronizes or goes with what you believe is the core of yourself, right? If you don't allow that to happen, you can't grow. And people who have who don't have those experiences of growth start off as okay, my parent is this particular religion. Okay. And then they grow up in that. And then before you know it, they adopt that frame of mind and then they just hold that to be the truth, but they never compared it against anything else. Right. Some
Man,
people out here have to be wrong. Right. So if you around here moving through, let's just say the Muslim space or Hinduism space or Jehovah Witness space or Christianity space or whatever it might be, it's all type of different spaces or religious spaces. Who is actually right then? Everybody is arguing that they right. The people that I
right,
talk to, oh, I'm right. This has got to be the right way. The Bible is this or that. Okay, well, hey, well, it's spiritual books that came out before the Bible. What's your argument on that? Well, they are not true. This is the right one. Okay, well, it's some stuff that comes from previous contexts and spiritual books, so to speak, that have similarities and stories. But what's
man.
that? I know you know about
Yeah,
a lot of this
c-
stuff.
yeah,
What you
because I know it messed me up. Like, now I profess, what I'm saying, I'm just spiritual, what I
think?
mean? But for a while I was, delving into comedic spirituality, which is more principles and systems more than a religion. Most people get the misconception that, it's about worshiping the different gods, and that's not the case. Those are netters. The netters are basically trying to show you different aspects of nature and how you can metaphysically manifest things into your life and what they symbolize.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I never forget there was it messed me up when I found out that a lot of the Ten Commandments and a lot of the other stuff in the Bible was around 10,000 years before Christianity in Egypt, in Kemet.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it was just like, okay, all right, so that's interesting. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because like, you know what I mean. And I ain't knocking nobody. Believe what you believe. Think what you think. You know what I'm
You're
saying?
entitled to
But
that, yeah.
you're entitled to that. But you know what I'm saying? Just go look it up. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, um, but it's interesting there was a situation where I was talking, I had caught myself debating somebody that was comedic spirituality when I was Christian. She told me up.
Hmm.
Hey, I man, and when I did some research, I'm like, okay, yeah, she was on point. But you know what I mean? When I reflect and look back on that now, it's like, why did I even have the need to feel the need to debate it?
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Because like in a when you think about it, her perspective, my perspective, my perspective. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I think a lot of times people get turned off because they feel like you're pushing something on me that's unwanted.
Yep.
It's unwarranted. You know
Mm.
what I'm saying? Like I don't if I'm minding my business, which at the time she was, you know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Somebody brought me into it. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
like, before I knew it, before I knew it, I'm in this debate, and it's like I'm not even trying to be in this debate. You know what I mean? But
Hmm.
I think everything happens for a reason because it definitely enlightened me.
Yep.
But I think in just dealing in relationships, I know there are so many times where you know men and women to get together and they'll believe different. You know what I mean? And I
Hmm.
felt like sometimes you know partners will say to each other, or they'll say, well, she don't believe the way I believe, or he don't believe the way I believe, and maybe we need to split up. And it's like I've seen where sometimes that's the case,
Hmm.
but then I've also seen sometimes in some cases where it's like, you just love the person where they're at. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Eventually they'll evolve and grow spiritually into whatever they're going meant to be spiritually. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? I've seen a Muslim and a Christian be married together and it worked.
Yep. See, and to me that seems like it resembles love more in those particular aspects because you able to still love somebody who has a different belief system than you have, in a spiritual or religious space, but you still able to understand that, and respect them in that manner, and then move forward and have a healthy relationship in the midst of that. I feel like that's what it's all about because at the end of the day, we are all individuals, and then we ain't gonna 100% of what I believe ain't 100% of what you believe. Me and you get
Right,
differences, which is going to serve to be true with every other person that we might have conversations with in life. They all have a slightly different or majorly different frame of mind than what we have. So, are we supposed to sit and just convince them that our frame of mind is right? And I feel like, man, I feel like it's a good idea that they have different religions and different, spirituality ideas because some things speak to different people in different ways depending on where they go.
right,
People have their own individual language. So some people just relate to the Spanish language or culture better. It could be people that ain't even born in that culture, but they just relate to it so much to where they go, and then that's where they spend their time at. They learn how to speak the language and they just love the culture of it, right? I just really love how I love the family perspective of Hispanic culture. I love the food or this or that. Being able to have an appreciation for what you just feel like you enjoy yourself personally. So with different religions and different spiritual ideas and aspects, um, different things are going to relate better to different people. And I feel like that's
right.
okay because, and sometimes people even switch, like we mentioned. Some person might start off on this particular path here, but then realize, wait a minute, I started off on this spirituality path, but you know what? I feel like Christianity is making a lot more sense nowadays, according to where I'm at in my life now and what I understand now and what I've grown to learn and know. I want to start moving down this space. I think this is the right thing for me. You know, I've seen, a number of different people switch, different religions. You might have people that, I noticed that it's real popular in the I guess in the jail area where you have a lot of people that, black men that go in and, become to be Muslim, Muslim religion. And it saves a lot of men's lives, right? It's a lot of men right here that have a lot of discipline and a lot of things that they practice now from learning the components of Nation of Islam.
Islam.
You know
Yep.
what I mean? So how can we not respect that? If they moving through here being a better person, they respecting people, they seeing people that need help, they helping them, they helping themselves, they doing well for their family, they moving through here, life in a respectful way and a loving way to people more than what they was doing before. How can we not champion that that idea? So the core of it is still going back to love, man. A lot of things that we discussed in a number of these different topics, it seems like a helpful solution is learning what love is and then expressing love in the most genuine way that you can.
right.
And
And I
that can
think,
go away.
go ahead.
Oh, that was it.
Nah, I was just gonna say, love is, and I feel like, love to a degree, and I'm trying not to pigeonhole myself, but like acceptance of an individual.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like accepting them for who they are. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like I think that was like the component for me when I went through the social work program was like, you know, learning to accept people, what I'm saying, for who they are and where they're at. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
some people have gone through different situations, different upbringings, different tragedies, situations, and you never know how that situation shaped them.
Yeah,
You may
exactly.
look at it like, oh man, I went through this, and this, and he ain't do me like that, but you don't know how it affected them.
There it is. Yep.
You
People
know
have
what I
their own
mean? So I
threshold.
mean, I think acceptance, that's love. You know what I mean? Like allowing a person to be like, I can't remember, there was a, I want to say there's somewhere in the Bible where it's like, it's been a while, so I may not be accurate with it, but it spoke to the fact of allowing a person to be. You know what I'm saying? Kind of
Like be who
like,
they are.
yeah, kind of like allow them to be. You know what I'm saying? Like I felt like with your lifestyle, as you were talking about earlier, as your lifestyle, as you shine your light for who you are and within what you practice and what you believe, you know what I'm saying? It
Mhm.
rubs off on the individual. You know what I'm saying? So,
Hmm. I see over here in Revelation 22:11, it says, he who is unjust, let him be unjust still. He who is filthy, let him be filthy still. He who is righteous, let him be righteous still. He who is holy, let him be holy still. Interesting.
I don't know if it was that one or not.
Okay, yeah. This one I don't remember coming across this one. I'm sure I might have read it before, but that's interesting within itself. Letting people be. It's a book by, I can't think of the lady name, but it's a book that came out not too long ago called Let Them, and it seems like a great book. It's a lot of interesting concepts and quotes and life components in it. But I think the general idea is like instead of adopting this negative feelings from how a person is or how a person may act or not, let's just say a friend not calling you as much as you feel like they supposed to call you, whatever the case may be, it's like, hey, let them. That's them. It's nothing for us to take on personally when it's
Man,
external, you know what I'm saying, being
yeah,
and situation that we, taking so personal. It's like this
yeah,
person
we
might
do.
be battling whatever they battling with, and they ain't learned the idea of being able to call their loved ones as much as they need to, right? So now we adopting that as an issue upon ourselves, and then having this negative emotion in regards to it when it all stems from that individual, and it's that one person's problem, so to speak. You know what I mean? But we taking it on and want to get offended by it. Because some people they friends to the point to where it's like, hey, they might not see each other in years, but then when they get back together, oh, what's going on with it, brother, man?
Yeah,
It's been a long time I see and catch up like ain't nothing happened, And there's some friends that they are just those type of friends, and they say, and I heard somebody mention it, like, look, um, just because you don't see me at all your events, or I ain't coming to your parties all the time, your birthday parties you invite me to, or I didn't skip telling you, or forgot to tell you happy birthday on your birthday or whatever, don't mean that I love you any less.
mm,
But then some people on the other side of that equation, they taking it personal. Dang, Holmes ain't called me and told me happy birthday, man. We supposed to be tight friends. I called them on all their birthday parties, or I called them on all their birthdays and went to all their birthday parties, but they ain't went to none but two of mine, and I didn't invite them to 10. You know what I mean? But they different people. They might not be a socialite like that. They might not like going out in front of people, or who knows? But the thing is, let them. You know what I mean? And then
let
you
them
feel me?
be.
Let them be who they're gonna be, and don't take that on personally. So let other people be the religion and have the idea of whether spirituality or religion or whatever denomination it is that they subscribe to. Let them, right? Let them do what they're gonna do. Um, be a light within the context of your belief system, and then if that
Mm,
other person sees that and sees that that's a better, more brighter road to go down, then maybe they might come to you and, hey, I want to learn more about. You say what church you go to? I want to come up there or whatever. Okay, cool. But I see some of these people, man. I invited, they praying for the people to make it. I invited them 10 times a church. They ain't
Man.
made it yet. We want to pray. Let's pray in here for them to come and make it. And I'm thinking like,
Yeah.
I'm like, man, what if it's not for them to come to this church? What if it's for them to come to another church? Or what if it's for another denomination or God is taking them a different way? Some people, because of whatever they experience in their life up until this moment now, speak a different language than this other person. They need to be spoke to in a different way. And it might take this one particular idea of religion or spirituality to take them to the next level to where it's like now they open and now their mind is open. You know what? Now I can see clearer now. Oh, now I see this about this particular idea of blah, blah, blah. Okay, now I can understand that more. Now that makes more sense for me. But allow a person to be that, because we ain't around here trying to force, well, I guess some people are, force people to speak Spanish to speak English, or people who speak French to speak English, or people who speak English to speak, Portuguese.
And
Go ahead.
and I even think like even when it comes to raising kids, like man, I feel like there should be some structure, some discipline, you know what I mean? Because you want to raise your children to be model citizens, to whatever that means, you know what I'm saying? But in the same sense, I've heard countless stories of man who was in church all our life, man, and now they don't want nothing to do with church. You know what I'm saying? They
Yep,
don't
I
want
see
nothing
that.
to do with nothing. And it's like because it was forced upon them. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? I felt like, what I mean, yeah, you should, I felt like once you like you said earlier, more so live your life as an example.
Hmm.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because most kids, they want to be like their parents.
Hmm.
And if they see their parent living in such a way, living a life in such a way, then
Yeah.
it's possible that they want to live that same exact life because they see how their parent is.
Showing by example. Okay.
Shown by example. You know what I mean? Too many times when it comes to spirituality, we want to tell people what they should do,
Hmm.
and then we do something totally different.
Yep.
And then be like, don't do like me, do what
Yeah.
I say, not
Uh,
what I do. You know
exactly.
what I mean? And that's
Yeah.
what turns people off.
Hmm. You want to see somebody rebel? Tell them what they got to do and be forcing them to do stuff. That's why people mention like with preacher kids. And that's a thing where you see preacher kids start to kind of get in a rebellious type of thing, and do stuff to where the parents feel like, how would my kid be doing this? I had them in the word all the time, but they over here doing the most. It's forcing a person to be something that they might not be, or first forcing a person to be a certain way, and it's going to cause some sort of rebellion. And that's kind of like the idea of it. And they even mentioned that with like AI, for instance, now to where they said that AI will be able to serve us in a great way as far as this information and the things that we're able to accomplish with it now. But the moment we get to start not allowing it to actually kind of have a sense of freedom, you know what I'm saying, and forcing it to do certain things will be when it starts to rebel, and then that's when we will probably
Mm.
have a issue, as a society, with AI. And you see that with the with some of those movies, when it gets to the point to where it's like they just forcing the certain machine or whatever to do the things that they want and not allowing it to have a sense of freedom, so to speak, then it starts to be some rebellion, you know, rage against things. So freedom, I guess that's part of it, and leading by example. Like allowing a
Yeah.
person to have freedom to choose, and that's free will at the end of the day. So how we expect God to have free will, in reference to us, right? Allow us to have free
Yeah.
will, but then we sit and it's like we want to tell the kids, hey, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do this way, you got to do this that way. Which I understand it. Like that's I come from, hey, my dad was military. He used to, whoop me, he ain't spare the ride, what I'm saying, by
Yeah, yeah,
hands.
yeah,
But
yeah.
then it caused me to kind of go and start whooping my kids in a way to where it's like, like my daughter, for instance, I'm like, man, and it kind of might, have pushed us away a little bit, with me, wanting to always discipline with, having this belt, trying to threaten with this belt. Like, oh, you want a whooping? You ain't too old to get a whooping, so to speak, and then just, acting like things are just supposed to be a certain way without, giving a level of freedom, now I would say a level of freedom to where you still gonna offer, protection and, reference to your kids and your family, you know what I mean?
Right.
That's freedom to where it's like, okay, yeah, hey, here's
Do what
here's
you
a
want,
cliff,
man.
you know what I'm saying? Here's a cliff, just jump around and cartwheel on top of this mountain as much as you want to. Never mind the drop offs on the side of it. We don't let them be themselves in a safe space, but create that safe space and then allow some freedom with the people that you're around, even in relationships. I heard somebody the other day talking about how their spouse was extra controlling to them, and it was like, yeah, I was faithful the whole time with my particular spouse, and they just was extra controlling. You got spouses putting GPS, sneaking GPS on people's cars, you know what I'm saying? On
Phones.
them, on their phones, tracking them, what I mean? All type of stuff going on here. Following them, you know what I mean? I thought you said you was going to the mall. You over here at Kroger. It's like, well, I just randomly felt like I wanted to just go to Kroger real quick because I forgot that we needed this. Now you up here meeting somebody. So man, allowing people to have their freedom, man, and it's like they say, if something is for you, you know, and it's for y'all to be, staying together in proximity with each other, then freedom shouldn't harm them not being close to you. Basically, it should
Right.
harm them being close to you. You know.
And then the thing about that too, like, to your point about the freedom, what I mean? Whatever will be, will be.
Hmm.
Whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like, it's out of your control and out of your hands the way certain things or way things may unfold or take place. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Sometimes parents may feel that because if I would have just did this, they wouldn't have turned out this way and this way. You know what I mean? But it's out of your control. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? You gotta allow your spirituality to lead you.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And allow the work that you put in, you know what I'm saying? You planted a seed. And that's there we go. That's what I've been looking for.
Hmm.
With spirituality, plant your seed and keep on moving.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Because some
You know what I'm
seeds ain't gonna
saying?
sprout. That's just a part of nature. Some seeds, some trees or plants gonna grow way more healthy and taller than the other plants, even though they right next to each other and got the same so-called amount of water and nutrients as the other. Sitting in the same soil, still turn out different, huh? But
Yeah.
people, go ahead.
I mean, and you know what I mean, for those that are Christian, that's even in the Bible, you know what I'm saying? Some plant, some water, but God get increase. You know what I'm saying? Like it's, at the end of the day, I don't think it's meant for us to go, you know what I mean? Like everybody, hey, you know what I mean? Do you know? You know what I'm saying? Like I think,
Are you talking about like knocking on doors saying like, do you
I
know about?
mean, I mean, knocking on doors, beating up folk head, you know what I mean?
Man, and
like whatever they do, like I think, man, if it's a casual conversation and it comes up, man, and they seem willing and interested and engaged to want to hear what you gotta say, yeah, then go out and have your way. You know what I'm saying?
there
Say
you go.
whatever you gotta say. You know what I mean? Give them the whole rundown if you want to, and if they
Hmm.
interested. But if you can tell they not interested, what are you doing?
You still over there. Listen here. Are you saved? Have you accepted just the Lord said? Have you been baptized? You need to get some. Man, I seen. I think I mentioned that to you, man. It was experience when the studio that I was in was it was downtown on Second Street. If people watching this and they don't know, we in Little Rock, Arkansas. So it was downtown Little Rock. I had a studio there, and it was a guy there. I'm hoping he should be okay with me telling this story. SJ was there, and it was a and he's how would I put it, atheist, so to speak. That's how he was then. I don't know what he is now. But this guy came in there, and I mentioned this before in one of these conversation episodes. The guy was like, he was a soldier for the Lord. You know what I'm saying? This particular artist here, he wearing fatigues. You know what I'm saying? He out on street corners with the sign. You know what I'm saying? God coming back soon. Jesus come back. All that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he's seen Holmes in there. He got to asking like, hey, you accepted, Jesus to be your Lord and Savior. And I was like, huh? You accepted Jesus to be it? And he looking like, what? He's like, man, I don't believe in it. He's like, man, so you mean to tell me you want to go to hell? You gonna go to hell if you don't repeat after me right now. You want to be saved, don't you? Repeat after me right now. I kept being forceful to the guy, and it was such an uncomfortable moment, and bro was like, man, I felt bad because I'm like, it's my, you know, business, and I got them in there, and I'm like, man, and this guy in here being all forceful to the other gentleman, and he ain't even, down with that, so to speak.
Yeah, easy K, anime.
You know what I'm saying? Bro was like extra forceful with it. Like, no matter how much dude was fighting, like, no, excuse me, I don't believe that. Well, you don't want to you want to go to hell, huh? You want to go there? You don't want to go to hell, do you? Repeat after me right now. Repeat after me right now. I'm like, dang, why is he forcing this guy? You can't force a person to be saved, so to speak, right? Because they have to believe in the heart, right?
Yeah,
my understanding. Confess with the
they
mouth.
will.
Is
Yeah.
that what they say?
You
Okay.
believe in your heart, confess with your tongue.
You know what I mean? So I don't know, but it's a lot of things in there that I'm still trying to figure out myself. That's why I'm still studying. That's why I still, be going to Bible study and going to church, as well as, hearing everybody's idea of what they feel like is the truth. I'm noticing a lot of different similarities to where me just having an open conversation with people, we find things that we relate on, right? But then there's some things that we might not completely relate on. Like me, I'm like, well, the idea of hell is just kind of weird to me because we got this guy that we talking about, just the idea of love. So why would a person burn for eternity for something that they did that let's just say they stole right before they passed and they didn't, repent for it? So they're gonna burn for forever, you know. Then you think about was it it was somebody that was up on the cross or whatever about Jesus when he was
Yeah.
and ended up getting saved in that moment, right? Was this a
Yeah.
thief or something?
Yep. Thief.
Okay.
Yep.
Can do you know a little bit more about that story?
It's been a while.
Okay, okay, okay. I
It's
was
been
just
a
gonna give
while.
it since we
I
on
know
here.
he
Hey,
was a thief though. You know what I'm
well,
saying?
anybody that's on here, if
Like
y'all want to find it in the Bible, look up, thief, hung by Jesus, crucifixion,
he
Bible
believed
verses or something.
last minute and then got saved. And
Yeah. So last minute get saved. So this person at the last minute can get saved. Then why would a person that's beaten did something like, oh man, I stole a candy bar right before somebody shot me in the store. You know what I mean? Right before the store owner saw me, or the store owner was chasing me out from me stealing a candy bar and shot me and I died. Is this person going to hell? So I didn't. So the concept of hell just didn't resonate with me. But then I talked to a pastor not too long ago, and he was saying that he felt like it's levels to it. It's levels to hell, because they were saying something about people who, I guess, intentionally try to cause a person to go astray in a way that's opposite of God. Then there's a special place in hell for them. I think. Now, hey, I'm sorry if I'm butchering this with the paraphrase. You know,
sorry, now you good.
but I think it's some sort of Bible scripture that leads to that. You know what I'm saying? So he had ended up saying something about the scripture. I wish I had it over here, but yeah. So in that case, it's like in his mind, he was like, "Hey, well, this might mean that it's different, levels to it. Like I don't see a person who, did all this crazy god awful stuff to somebody be in the same place as this person who, let's just say, stole a candy bar. I don't know, But see, this is some of the questions that I'm sure a lot of people have that we
Yeah,
mentioned here. Some people are afraid to even have the questions because they feel like they're going against God by questioning God. But it's like, study to show yourself approved, right? So it's like
right,
you have to study, you know what I'm saying? If you have to get in a state of understanding to even have a level of belief, right? So the goal is to get into a level of belief to where you believe in your, your religious space or spiritual space as much as you can in order to move down that road with faith, you know, because it's going to require some sort of belief to be in the idea of faith, right? Because faith is like what things is hoped for, the evidence of things not seen, or something like that. Whatever, y'all can look it up in the Bible. I'm butchering it here, but basically, it's a level of belief that sits at the foundation of that. So it's a lot of things to where, and some things we ain't gonna get no answers for here in this physical world. We ain't gonna get the answer for some of these questions. I remember sitting with like I said, studying with Jehovah's Witnesses or whoever. I got the questions where I'm asking them, and sometimes they're like, well. You just got to have faith for that, right? So figure out what you want to have faith in. As you figure out yourself and whatever spiritual path that y'all are moving into or decide to move into, operate with the core thing of love, which is one of the things that's the commonalities of a lot of these different spiritual and religious contexts, right? Loving, research what love is and what the core idea of love is from a godly spiritual perspective or whatever, to where, you're not seeking to harm anybody. You seeking to leave people better off than how you found them. You know what I mean? And
best
then what
interest at heart.
yeah, your best interest at heart. And then as you're moving with that, then I feel like everything else can come together in a line, and just be open to, hear ideas possibly. That not mean that that doesn't mean that it has to cause you to not believe what you believe, but praying about what you will experience and praying about what the truth is and for your truth to be revealed to you. Because I feel like individual things can be truth, right? From
Right.
different points of view, you can see the same item that's in front of us, and it's like, okay, well, I see this box in front of me, right? It has 4 or 5 corners to it, so to speak. All the corners are different colors. So if we were to imagine that, okay, we got this box, it get 4 or 5 sides to it, whatever many sides is comfortable for you. Each side has a different color. You got people all around this box here. Some people are only going to be on the side that is close to, let's just say, the black side of the box, right? Okay, when people ask them, what did you see in front of you? Okay, I saw this box. Okay, how many sides to it? Well, it seemed like it might have had four sides. It could have had five sides. I don't know. It just seemed like it was one sided. It was black. That's their perspective from their point of view. They were sitting on the side to where they seen the black side of the box, to where it was just that big square in front of them. Imagine if it was a big box to where it'd take time to try to walk around or miles to go around each side of it to actually see how many sides of it. And let's just say that the square of this one person that they see this black square, that square is a mile long. You know what I mean? So from their
Right,
perspective, okay, this box is black. I can imagine that if this side that I'm seeing here is black, then the other sides has to be black too. Does it even have other sides? I don't know if it has other sides, but I know it has a black side, right?
right,
And some people might be like, "Oh, it's black all the way around," because they thinking about the side that they saw, but they not on the other side to where they see the yellow side or the blue side or the red side. All these people give a different story from their account, and each one of their story is technically the truth from their perspective and point of view. So, where's your point of view in life at now? You know, some people have been through the most horrendous things with people in the church. I've seen some people that have been abused from a child on up by the pastor, right? So, how are they going to feel about that particular religion and that in that in the eyes of that, how are they going to feel opposed to a person where it's like, hey, my dad was a pastor, my dad was loving, my dad did everything right in the church from what I can see. Now everybody ain't gonna be perfect, but my dad did a lot of stuff right. He was good to my mom. He stayed married to my mom. He always treated us well. He gave us the right life lessons. I never seen him really just try to be ill or go off on people. He always tried to lead with love. That's a different point of view or perspective that that person had. So they might feel like if my dad was this noble man and moved in this particular manner, and this is the religion that he followed, I feel like it's some validity to it, or some good to it, right? Because this good wholesome guy ended up following the path of that. And if he followed that path, then it must be something to it, because of what his character displayed to me. So people are going to have their different point of view. What do we do in the midst of the time while we trying to seek and find ourselves? Hey, it takes more than a lifetime to find ourselves, period, to understand ourselves and our relationship with God or spirituality. But in this time and this experience, operate with love. We got enough to deal with on our own and to be worried about what everybody else doing.
right.
Operate with love. When it's time to worry about somebody else, let it be maybe a situation where we in place to be able to help this person or be a light to this person. Okay, worry about them then in a loving way. But don't be
Right.
sitting and pressuring these folks. I ain't gonna tell you what not to do, 'cause I don't like to do that. So let me erase that don't thing. But hopefully some of this stuff, might have gave you some good ideas out here. And hopefully y'all blessed out here and y'all remain to be blessed and blessing yourself and blessing others. Looks like we had a dope discussion here. Sound off anything else you want to add?
Uh, Pretty much. I feel complete. I feel like, like you said, man, is if they're asking and they're willing, if they're consenting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's give them the help that you can at that time. You know what I mean? Like the few words that you feel or whatever you felt placed on your heart at that time, you know. And if not, let them be.
Mm-hmm. Because they got their free will. And just to add on to that, they brought up something in my mind. I think I mentioned in some of these other conversations or episodes that I started getting a sense of God speaking to me or being spiritually spoken to, and I want to mention this too because I remember talking with the pastor earlier, and he was saying when I mentioned I'm more spiritual than religious, then he mentioned that okay, you get good and bad spirits, okay, that gave me a new perspective about things, and by me being open, I was able to accept that. All right, maybe I need to say more about good spirituality or good, I practice spirituality from the good side, or I'm more spiritual than religious, but towards the good, good, who knows? But this is what I wanted to say. So I've been having prophetic things come to me. We were talking this, maybe this would be an episode one day. And this is what kind of caused me to start kind of getting out of the studio too. But a word came for my wife one day because she was saying that, all of these messages were coming from other people, and then I would tell her about certain things that came to me, and then it would happen, et cetera, et cetera. So she would end up saying like, "Hey, if it's something that God ever gives you from me, then let me know." And then God gave me something one day. I was up praying, meditating, doing my daily prayer meditation and stuff, and then it just came across me. And in the midst of that conversation, which was a lot, we'll talk about this one day in one of these episodes. But this is one thing I want to point out. This is what came to me. That even though I guess in let's just say Christianity or the Bible, it mentions something about the hierarchy of, God, and I mentioned this before, God, the man, the wife, children, excuse me. But in this particular moment, what came to me was this, that we are all responsible for our own individual souls and spirits, We responsible for that. Like, no matter what I say, my wife still is her own individual person that has her own individual belief system, right? Some things I can try to talk to, I'm blue in the face to her to try to convince her about, she ain't gonna be convinced of because she's her own person. So what came to me was this, that we are all responsible for our own individual, spirit, souls, whatever you want to call it. So we have to, like they say, study to show ourself approve, right? And then have, confidence and faith to move down what we feel like is the thing to believe, but then still being open as we move down this path, because some things might come uh, about, or we might experience as we're along this path, that might cause us to have a new mind frame. That might be a better mind frame that's better for us in our particular journey. So y'all pray, see what the right journey is for y'all. It's I feel like it's okay to have questions, because otherwise you can't grow without having questions about things. You get questioning in school to, learn about things. Okay, let me give you these questions in this test so you can try to make sure you learn some stuff here. We can make sure that you learn something. So it's okay to have questions, especially from the place of, love and really trying to understand something, because we all want to, let's just say, go to the right place when we leave, or whatever, or understand what the right place is, or the right things to be doing as we here. So then when we do leave here, then we can look back and be like, okay, hey, I did some good stuff. I left a good mark on the world. I did some good things for people. I made some people feel better about themselves. I helped some people out. I apologize to the people who I did wrong to. I forgave the people who did wrong to me. So I left my mark on the world in a great way. So hopefully we all are doing that. So I just want to say, hey, sound off, man. I love you, brother, as
Love
always.
you too, bro.
I love y'all. Y'all tell somebody you love them, and hopefully be let it be somebody that you really love when you tell them that. Don't lie to them, but find a way to really get in the space of love, and then offer that to your loved ones that's around you. And y'all stay blessed out here. If you tuned in, we appreciate y'all for tuning in. I see a few people that's on here that's watching us, man. We love y'all for watching. We appreciate it. We come on here every Friday around this time. I just happened to miss the last one because we was at this cousin trip thing, so it was all on me. Sound Off has been here every single time and ready to do his thing. But yeah, and he came up with the topic for today too, which I feel like it was a great one. I was excited to see it come up. But yeah, Sound Off, how can people reach you?
Reach me on social media platforms, Sound Off the General.
Okay. Y'all hear that? All social media platforms. Type in Sound Off the General like you see on the screen here. And if you need to find me, I am Mental Coach Kev on all platforms. And mentalcoachkev.com is where my mental wellness community is, where I put together a lot of mental techniques that I help people with, eliminate negative emotions and different things, and empowering things that I would help people with one-on-one wise, and charge some money for from time to time. I put it in a monthly community subscription based thing. So y'all can find that on the page. Go to mentalcoachkev.com for that, and go on there. You can get a free guided meditation, so you can start incorporating that into your daily life. Hopefully, it's a stress and anxiety relief guided meditation. I think it might be 16 to 20 minutes, whatever, however long it is. But anyway, it has some good suggestions in there to get you in a positive mind frame, and it helps some people, a number of people, to get out of a stressful mind frame. So go there, get you something free, and then hey, sign up and support the community if you're down for it. I really appreciate your help, because it causes us to continue to be able to do podcasts like this, and for me to continue to be able to come up with or put different therapeutic mental processes into audio, visual, digital form, and then offer it for people for the low ski. All right, well, I guess we're gonna sign off of here. So look like my bro froze on the screen over here. So yeah, so I guess I'll go ahead and just say what we usually say, man. Y'all love yourself, man. First, find something loving to do for yourself, whether it's journaling, whether it's going outside, putting your feet on the ground and grounding yourself, whether it's listening to a meditation audio, or whether it's just taking some silent moment to talk to God, or read over whatever spiritual context that you're into, whatever word that is, and learning about love. And then, once you start loving yourself and learning what the core idea of love is, and start expressing that to other individuals, man, y'all be blessed out here in the world. We're going to say peace. We out.